They thought they could scare me with fake badges and cheap uniforms, but they picked the wrong guy this time. It was supposed to be a calm Saturday morning, just me visiting my cousin Jake in his new suburban neighborhood. He'd moved into one of those fancy HOA-controlled communities where people pretend to be elite, but everyone's secretly miserable. I'd heard stories about that HOA, letters for lawn length, fines for leaving bins out, and one woman everyone called Karen the Commander, who treated the HOA like her personal kingdom. But nothing could have prepared me for what happened that morning. I parked near Jake's driveway, rolled down the window, and before I could even step out, two men wearing black polos with HOA enforcement units stitched on them approached my truck like they were FBI agents. One knocked on my window and said, "Sir, this is a private HOA area. We'll need to search your vehicle." I frowned. "Excuse me? Search my vehicle for what?" The guy tried to puff up his chest and sound official. "We've had reports of outsiders bringing in stolen property. HOA rules allow us to inspect any vehicle entering the area." I almost laughed. "HOA rules? You're not police! Get out of my face!" The second man stepped forward, resting his hand on what looked like a sidearm. That's when I realized these clowns weren't just wannabes, they were dangerous. I spotted the glint of metal under his vest and instantly felt my heart pound. Jake came running from his porch yelling, "Hey! That's my cousin! Leave him alone!" But they ignored him. One of them barked, "Sir, step back! Show business only." I pulled out my phone and hit record. "You point that gun at me," I said, "and you're going to regret it." The guy froze, realizing I wasn't backing down. The recording caught everything. The fake badges, their threats, and the growing crowd of neighbors watching. Within seconds, people started stepping out of their houses. Phones were out. Cameras were rolling. And then, like she'd been waiting for the spotlight, Karen the Commander stormed down the sidewalk, barking, "What's going on here? This is an HOA inspection! Cooperate or leave." She actually said it like she was running a military base. I turned my camera toward her. "An inspection? Lady, you can't order people around, and I don't even live here." She froze, visibly shaken that someone was challenging her authority in front of everyone. Then the taller fake officer snapped, "Turn off that camera!" and reached toward my phone. I backed up. His hand went to the holster. Jake shouted, "He's got a gun! Somebody call the cops!" The air changed. Neighbors screamed. The fake officer hesitated, realizing he'd crossed a line. I stood still, camera focused, heart hammering. "You're impersonating a cop," I said. "You think that badge means something? Wait till the real ones get here." The sound of sirens in the distance hit like music to my ears. Within seconds, two sheriff cruisers flew into the cul-de-sac, lights flashing. Real deputies jumped out with weapons drawn. "Hands where we can see them!" they yelled. The fake HOA cops froze, hands in the air, faces pale. The entire street was silent except for the crackle of police radios. One deputy cuffed the shorter guy while the other approached me and asked if I was okay. "Yeah," I said, shaking. "But they pulled a gun on me for refusing a car search." The deputy sighed. "You did the right thing filming. We've had complaints about them pretending to be officers." Karen tried to step in, waving her hands. "They're volunteers. HOA security." The officer turned to her, stone-faced. "Ma'am, impersonating law enforcement is a felony. HOA or not, you don't have that right." The color drained from her face. The neighborhood stood in disbelief as the so-called HOA cops were shoved into patrol cars. I just stood there watching, realizing this wasn't about HOA rules. It was about power, control, and people who'd gone way too far. The flashing red and blue lights painted the entire neighborhood in chaos. Kids peered through windows, parents whispered from driveways, and Karen stood frozen, watching her fake officers get arrested in front of everyone she once intimidated. The deputies confirmed what I already knew. The guns were airsoft replicas modified to look real, and the badges were cheap knockoffs from some online store. As one deputy documented everything, I showed him the video I'd taken. He nodded. "Perfect evidence," he said. "We've been tracking these guys. You just helped us nail them." Jake was furious. He turned to Karen, yelling, "You brought these guys into our neighborhood? They pointed a gun at my cousin!" Karen tried to defend herself, her voice cracking. "I was just trying to keep things in order." People break rules, strangers come in, and the HOA can't handle it. But the deputy cut her off. That doesn't give you the right to hire fake cops. You're lucky no one got shot. The neighbors started speaking up. People who had been too afraid to challenge her before. "Karen, you've gone too far," one shouted. "You fined my son for parking wrong," said another. The perfect little community she ruled through fear was finally standing up to her. By the end of that day, both fake officers were in custody, and Karen was facing serious questions. The real HOA president showed up hours later, shocked and pale. "I never approved this," he said. "We don't even have an enforcement team." Turns out Karen had gone rogue, paying those men under the table to patrol the neighborhood. A few weeks later, the story exploded online. My video went viral. Millions of views overnight. Headlines read, "Fake HOA cops arrested after pulling gun on visitor." People couldn't believe it. The footage of Karen arguing with deputies became an internet sensation. She was labeled HOA Cop Karen, and memes flooded social media. The real consequences hit hard. The HOA faced multiple lawsuits, and mine included, for negligence and emotional distress. The fake officers were convicted for impersonating law enforcement and making threats. Karen herself was charged with conspiracy and harassment. The HOA community board voted her out permanently. Months later, Jake decided to sell his house. He was done with the madness. The night before he moved, we stood by his driveway, laughing about the insanity of it all. "Remember when they tried to search your car?" he said. "Yeah," I chuckled. "And now they're the ones being searched in jail." Karma doesn't miss, and this time it hit dead center. The neighborhood changed after that. Quieter, freer, no more intimidation. The new HOA leaders banned private security, installed real cameras, and made sure power stayed in check. I posted a follow-up video thanking everyone who shared the story, reminding them, never let fear silence you. The louder the bully, the harder they fall. Like, share, and subscribe, because justice, even when delayed, always arrives right on time.